government must lead, even though the citizens have a role to play. And I'm saying this because Nipano, you cannot absolve yourself of blame as a government simply by saying, say, Timemufo has a role to play. Timemufo, they have a role to play. But there are some policies, programs, and projects the government must lead. And I'm giving you an example. Between 2017 and 2024, the Akufo-Addo government secured about 540 million cedis to help in flood mitigation policies and to manage sanitation issues and also for emergency response. And we are totally different from the Garrett project, the Greater Accra Resilience Integrated Development Project. And only was a total of about $330 million or so. OCHA 2018, the NPP government allocated 200 million cedis for annual desilting of drains to also help with the flood management system. So that we are constant because, look, the rains will not stop. And the rains will not stop for the politicians to, quote unquote, think about bureaucracy and sanawaba. Until now, you're a friend of force majeure, you don't have control over it. But what you can do, what the citizens now able suffer, is and they are not asking, say, buying country and so say unjaito, but they are asking their government, say, prepare before the rains will come. To be try in 2024, now some few things the MPP did and Sana Omofia Bem. In fact, there was a subcommittee of cabinet under President Akufo-Addo 2017. A mapped out a comprehensive program to understudy and study Nientia in crime in Tobiano and It's based on that, then the government decided, okay, with this comprehensive strategy, we'll go out to look out for funds. And the man approaching World Bank and other donors. Then the World Bank first released over $200 million. And no being a buy as part of your integrated program, I would bet what Greater Accra to be able to stand on his feet and be resilient when in Siotwa. First of all, in somewhere 2024 or so, church, February 2024, the Odo River dredging project also started. February 2024. Achimota Abofu drainage, and also you're starting in March 2024. Then it's the South Kaneshi drains and also you're starting and all these places are major hotspots in Accra. And then we have the Buzia Highway and also the drainage, the construction of sad drain systems. We awarded and then it was mobilized for contractors to start. Now saying there was a World Bank meeting. Your ranking member Martin J. Mensa Kosa, who is ranking on works and housing, sat in it and asked the ministry officials. Says Sanya Mayor President Akufo-Addo about mere time you almost start here, especially major in 2024. Akosi saying almost it has stalled because one, almost the criminals have taken over some of the places and they earmarking as holding ponds. About 18 holding ponds within Accra. They'll be able to hold some of these water bases, while sir, air corner for the water to recede. Secondly, almost the Sika SADP edition for contractors to keep on moving. Abana has not done that. What the government did in 2025 was to set up anti-flooding task force, made up of the coordinator also is Mr. Standogwe, who is deputy chief of staff. And under coordinating team, it has two ministers. Minister for Works and Housing, Kennedy, Minister for Local Government, Ahmed Ibrahim. These two ministers, sitting at the top is a deputy chief of staff, with no compelling mandate to compel these two ministers to do what they have to do. Clearly, if I ask you today, the issue of flood management is under which ministry? The NDC in opposition said the sanitation ministry will be collapsed and merged with the ministry for local government. Now you also set up a coordinating role anti-flood, whatever task force and put 2 ministers. So every day they themselves don't know who is expected to manage what. And the rains will not stop, thinking that manage the bureaucracy, or the rains will tell you, say, the 2 competing ministries should come to the table and tell us what they are doing. And then nobody has been able to tell us since January 2025 what has government done in preparation of some of these rains. None of the media houses is able to tell us, okay, you are buying penny for Kasa, from January 2025, when the MPP left office, what has been the structures, the processes? Near my MPP Jaya, Momo to us, and where are we with these things? So it is true. Don't politicize the issue of floods. However, those who politicize the issue of floods are those in government today. In Sotopiana, they blamed it on Akufo-Addo. Go back for the tapes. But this is not the time for blame game. We want solutions, but not rhetoric. And noting that even in the midst of blame game under the NPP era, we said now the most compelling, comprehensive strategy is for us to go with our Garrett project, where one man pay out almost all the issues confronting Accra. Accra today is the engineer's nightmare, because the city was built without also looking into the future of population expansion. Until you are here today, people keep building, but any sufficient even drain systems that you have. Until you can have people setting up real estate and estate, but ubi somehow comprehensively, working on drain system, and they don't have it. And now, Accra became like a fishing town. People look, watch your TV swap. People were using boats on the streets of Accra, boats. So these are not normally. I was particularly surprised. The president went round. I listened to him. As usual, people are building on waterways. People, that is also continuing with absorbing yourself of blame. The people are not listening for you to absorb yourself of. They want their government to lead. They want their government to prepare for floods. And there's something interesting. This month of June, mind you are talking about just yesterday's one. 3rd June, there was another heavy rainfall in Accra.
Yeah.
Post that, what did their government do? That day, and 3rd June is high and Tamkesia also on our calendar.
Yeah.
I think 2015 or so. And also on a single night, we lost 150 Ghanaians. The same 3rd June again in Suosato Subrane. And then what did the government, even after the 3rd June, from January last year to date, 1 year, 3rd June, a rude awakening. What did the government do after 3rd June? People have lost their livelihoods. And Madam Host, beyond the statistics you are seeing, say, 100 homes flooded, 200, beyond these statistics and behind these statistics are human beings. Nkofo no ma share omo niema. Nkofo no ma share omo japade. Nkofo lose omo livelihood. And for some of them, it's going to take a long time for them to bounce back. Obi wa ni dwetre ketwa bia na ho kire mu odi dwa no ekọ ahye. Niema wakofa nka sabia ye o force niema nka okwa akoton na odi ahwe na yire ne ma ne kunu na busua ene ne ma no, it's gone. Sabe fridge kakra this or the ton ice water na yi ekọ ebi pokra the worst case scenario so kra happen na you lose what this year. And Americans at midnight you said that almost 9 people and I assure are still many people are unaccounted for. So it is not enough for His Excellency the President to just store the affected areas in a chopper. What is the strategy? How are we leading the conversation? How are we ensuring that near ACC, because the rains won't stop. The rains will simply not stop. And the rains won't stop for the 2 competing ministries of local government and works and housing to come to a conclusion and say, when I say we decided. It's clear that the government's management of the flood situation has been fantastically nightmarish. They haven't been able to manage it well, because this is not the first. When President Mahama was in opposition, I remember his post clearly that if I have your time, I can even read it, saying that the Akufo-Addo government had not managed issues of floods well. The Akufo-Addo government did not blame President Mahama. Did not blame the Ghanaian people. they decided to still focus on the strategy of delivering a comprehensive strategy. And no be NMI abiners at the time Nanado's government, Nanado Bawumia government exited. Now you started the Odo river drainage system. And now you started that of the Achimota Abofu drainage system. And now are holding the waters for the city of Accra. Now you started that of the Buzia Highway. You started that of the South Kanishi areas. And in the Garrett project as a strategy, they designated 18 holding ponds. We buy. They are not paying these contractors. They are not getting on with it. And you know the interesting thing? There's another video which I will show you. And if I'm minded by your producer, I'll forward it to you. Mamu UTV now, which I decided to. Who be Biana means a Dankwa Masem no. It be here in my store. And I'll forward it to you to play. Ahmed Ibrahim, the Minister for Local Government, says, "Mama see in trust sanitation contracting, you try Zoom Lion contracting, you try the Mahama assemblies. You were supposed to recruit people since last year. As of this year, May, none of them. None of the assemblies had recruited people to manage the waste. In Tibola, year to go. Where do you think it was going to end up? The Tibola has found its way into our bedrooms. It's your network, because a year for left, right, center, and that video I forwarded to your Mamu UTV when you're another network. Namaka said, and it is sad. Now, before you even come in, just 30 seconds. It is sad that, look, when you watch some of the scenes, this is not the time for talk, and yet time for rhetoric, and yet stakeholder meeting. Let nobody confuse us as another committee. May say a comprehensive blueprint. Involving engineers, involving foreigners, Ghana's local partners, foreign partners, engineering entities to come together with that comprehensive strategy. It was on the basis of that the World Bank decided to release funds for it. Even though in excess of over $330 to $350 million. You could rack COVID mono at Renchen Bay, and the government decided to apply some to solve the COVID issue. The MPP look for money to replenish it. It will be a confused SSS committee. It will be a group of unwilling people ready to do the unnecessary.
What can a rua as someone and a engineer Isaka Amon? What say? Ekasai was say a new assembly sena. I say it's me a waste management department. Our money be in charge of a waste near day. Now one should be assembly sena. No more cocoa far dear baby says you were real. Obi ohono ma baby any fie wa wo expect to obe nanti ade akono ontumi se nipa ne kodu obi obedu on so yes say ayema sign fako no nya te so obe sign de akoni fie nti gates no mu ena odi ebebu. Do you think say sa asema papa ya raise and also another factor etimi emma yen gates no eye choked? What can say citizenry, we have, look, responsibility. You have a situation at hand. Whereby there was a ministry responsible for sanitation, any water, any government prioritizing sanitation will clearly tell you, say, if you want to combat and fight the issues of sanitation, to say a department. So do you think, sir? Because someone established that ministry, in a way, mutimi. So with that, what that meant was that the Mawubenya a laser focused approach towards sanitation and water and floods. Because they say, if you the video Mamu UTV, I forwarded it to you and your producer. Me say what here the Minister for Local Government. I'm not saying it, and for the benefit of your viewers, I'll plead with you. So the more capture saying that the issue of sanitation more kasi yen near ball and no collection in the assemblies. Now go to our cities, go to the assemblies, go to the municipalities. The place is not engulfed in filth, because when the government asks for a pull-out, pulling out the sanitation work as institutions. So the moment you did that, all that you needed to do was then you should have fast-tracked the processes of getting the sanitation companies maybe at the local level. I'm not here to do PR for any company. It's not my interest. But once government decided to disengage from a sanitation arrangement with an entity, government should have a backup plan that over area bekan area abna obimpe company limited charged to collect refuse, manage sanitation, manage the refuse. But if you don't do that, and now say okay, Dr. Abedu, Sammi Awuku, abna ni obimpe, momo ina ni yetwem, then there's a vacuum. Who feels it?
Abuja for ayeka say Dr. Parkwesi Eduafo Abedu lecturer wo Unimax aso no executive director Emerson's Africa. Abba Hasint Mama Doka Kwaba. I want to say.
Me just say I don't know, but also was so wanted then.
Yamia do me why fan of paper.
Do me wa.
And the only honorable Sammi Awuku dey won so emiem.
Eh yeah, abna.
They say we with the season of World Cup and just na
me dinner Sammi say gap near why do.
Not really if you have a co-parliament.
Gap near why do.
Look, when we are a co-parliament.
Matthias,
no, we have
I've done a payment for in checkers from my.
Okay, doc, what me so member also ama why no honorable Sammi Awuku can sem sesia no ka honorable Ahmed Ibrahim ni video me pacha ready mama yen share beba sesia.
Zoom lion anana pra Ghana. Ghana for the NGO for say Ghana for the Biafra yemfa sika no nkoma metro assemblies no get sika na mama nipa no afa omu mi ma bai mi hu say yakase nipa we na assembly afa omu a omu no mu prapra mi mu bi where are they omu a mu bai Zoom lion emperor Sikana e diamond no ni ba no so aso anfo mu. E better na Ghana nyefu. Tell me why you should remain there. Oh, omufa me young power me ba. Ye ko land side. Coordinating director, o si mu ya pa no so dum la yo mu fa ma e be fi aye. This is Ye diamond mu se mu antimi anye. Mu antimi anye. Me can't just go a Pentecost elder. Me ya Pentecost elder say na me here. No pray na me can. Me yen say me say oh je kajadi. I don't do that. Yes. I don't do that. Yes, mamu. Ye dia mamu. 1 year ni. 2025 Zoom live on Yejma. 2026 on Yejma. Sasika no ye di mamu. Uko baby azi o mafani pa 50. Obisi mafani pa 100. Sa nipa 45,000 na na wo yi a. Yes ye twem. No more yi. Sika no nkwa mansina kraji for no. Ye di amamu. E no ntina musika do so. Nipa no ma form.
Ghana. Anyway,
About law more, you feel we res ipsa loquitur. The fact speaks for itself. I have nothing useful to add.
Doc, I told them why. I'm so about to
you have not an payment fine checkers and from a wash here now. No matter so on your boy pay the man bentem traffic na other issues or some kind of kakra. Na Mr. Chesuma honorable Sammi Awuku.
Doc,
Better one can't check.
Papa.
Abna, me should have made them cherry that I was a commander to Chado, and I didn't. Mamma can be.
Environmental.
Abna easy, me just the minimum time honorable starting, but me sure for the time in Kenny as no man can be my
But I mean, before I started and run away.
No movie. No, me hear the me be fifia pena. You know, or starting Hey, Abna, Araho, your understatement. Araho, understatement. Still now, no, in fact, Miraho. And I remember Nam, is it often a large here, and I can still, I mean, Mudro now, Nanka say no, you can still feel and call fire, I mean, home shops, only fee, we are ashefit danuma I mean it was an eye, so in fact another terrible experience as well, especially with somebody we are very passionate about environmental issues. I'm the Mahama management has okay, yeah, and it's sad. It's not easy. On your easy day, will be by Juma years. What to TV, what on the fridge. I see them kakra my trace with the husband, but never can cry. Then within a day, no, soon you don't be you. Soon after BB has a call. We bra, we send it then. Look at the way I gonna for bread. And suddenly we think we see 2-3 bedroom house. Now in soup water one day. Now the entire structure in Nano. So you cry, I make a stay go because as soon as they could do so and say one lives you from painful. Abna say if I was in that situation how it's going to be like. The areas now them flood no cause say more them situation at that moment. Me very them from Akakrama with ye. I don't know how I would have felt. And now you see, you don't blame one calamity into one so much of Sunday. Oh, funerals neutral. Now dream that you what talk within the next 30 minutes. Sorry, or but so within the next 30 minutes, or but so within the next 1 hour. And sometimes even the decision to move out of baby or to go and find another safer place no relatively what to know na or you too late. And even so move if you feel require.
That's a question.
Or move where can it be sure there? Be safe. And look at the way as no spread all across. If for car now because there's no cars will move. The cars are not moving. In Tabna, it's a very terrible. In fact, it was a very terrible situation yesterday, and it's unfortunate today. I mean, I think the meteorological agency is in Como, and they are saying that we expect more rains. It's scary. It's scary. So if you see June 3rd, 2015, 2015, June 3rd. Now what is happening now is virtually, a repetition of Mosi those time as Sweden or CBME, and it's on command. These are not yo because we are talking about human life. So abna, we are talking about death. We are talking about their livelihood. Basic things on my welfare, basic things. And if say Nsu, and you see Nsu what you want on your not them giddy turn the lights, normal rain downpour that just within a longer period. Now all these issues have happened. It is to answer your question is Abna, it's a terrible feeling or a very sad situation as a country almost 70 years. Capital town. Oh, the other cities in Cape Coast now, I'm thinking that, but capital town, the eye of the country. All that you have to say is Accra. I mean, that is how we project our country. Capital city, host to Biara, and all that. And I say, we are confronted with such a situation. It's simply sad, and we're exposing him big time. As a country, how ya lazy, how ya da. I mean, we've slept for a very long time. We slept for a very long time, and it is my prayer and hope there. Because June 3rd, but you kadama there, and at a point I remember one of the slogans which was going on was never before. Is it never again or never before? You know, never again. That is more than 10 years old. Never again. That's why we're again you. Never again in our sense words to be me. It's very frustrating situation. But let's go into the issues, Abna. Let's go into the issues. As you can, people in DC now one and governments one they are not helping us. Sunday, Ghana has today. Or your accumulation of more C from 19, I mean, we see, I was young for 1992 in Fambra, or your accumulation of what leadership has done, and painful wire from 1992, Captain most OCB your accumulation. By 1 + 1 to 2 necessary, you won't see here. I will not sit here, Honorable Namenkade, NDC for no one Madam Fladi Waba. Her leadership has failed us. And they should agree. One Jintum Day, one Mohen. Abna, you see, I mean, I believe in leadership so much there. If, as a country, as a community, even as a fee, if you have good leaders, things go well. And I'm repeating the beam. As a country, as a community, as even a house, a household, if you're a family, if you have good leadership, problems are solved. Into the problems we are seeing now, are simply out of leadership failure. Starting from the presidents that we've had, starting from the ministers who have been in charge, down to the chiefs, down to the assembly members, every leader we can talk of, to the DCs, all of them, the coordinating directors, all the people, leadership, we're failing. We're failing big time. And say, if you are an individual, another say you are a positioner, you should know that you have a responsibility. I'm not saying to leadership, I don't try, because leadership or your Susie, leadership or you have to be there to solve a problem, to make sure that people's lives are better. And to say, if you are in any leadership position, starting from the assemblyman, up to the chiefs, up to the DCs, the ministers, the MPs, up to the president. Now say you know that you don't have the capacity, you don't have the willingness, you don't have the ability. You need them, them to lead. Man, try it. Don't try it. Because you can't go for leadership. No for problem from blaming from Mobi. Who is the follower? Follower Yawana. You see, what's it? The name is leader or kanzefo or can easy can see this can is with you. So meaning there, as if you are right to be you have to take the mantle. That is the first issue that I want to talk about. If in the ayeka I think they meditate a lot of commentaries, and I got a phone here in and I got from Suban and here Suban the West. Most of the people now know if it's a painful now, they want to shift the blame. No, wasn't my hand to me phone. Yes, you do. Until it's me phone. Abna, let me be some pain be there. Said Ghana you to Kwanok or UK or US and all the countries now, Yakawasabna. Wakwa, who sit down will get a Sumana.
Emrabia will be a Udiso.
So, Okwa, Ozizi, another young or two Gugatamana. Ghana in Okoha on ye the Mazan in Wahano. So, why Dokoha? I mean, so why Dokoha on ye now has about to me?
So, on a Brani Juma.
One no Brani Juma. You see the problem? Now, you're done. Let's make it vice versa. I'm not going to go to my China Kegalam say. But China for Ghana, I'm saying, why? Because of your bar, of culture, of your way of life. If you go to Rome, do what the Romans do. It's one the what Ghana, how Ghana for the was there or two basa. Ghana for the what Asasibiano was incident team here, so your baby. And so what bar they are able to do it, but I never going to me yet. The difference is about the laws. And this is why I must say leadership will fail him. Because what is happening now in our country now is that leadership no way calls when will be fall victim and will be as a bona leadership no way call you man small boy you man party member you me coordinating director or you me party chairman whatever calls no is the authority no is the fiddle here laws or ukuma until every time biano mbano you one side leadership so calls you on the other side no is influences decisions and everything into yes equal assembly now. Your fiscal planning authority, your fiscal planning office, and I kind fiscal planning, your land use and special planning office, but you know what's one on you too because in there you see baby we sit down here and so alcohol pamper the worst will happen in there. Open your boyfriend you me paint or January function on your juma. That is one part of the problem. Yeah, and now here is the one go here trying see the man and then up to him way. Abna, the same issue also by the same leadership. See, we are not planning our country. Country, we are not planning it. Since I actually in Kanaiwa, Nkran population is almost 6 million. Abuna sefa Kaswa Bakahu, Kaswa Central Region. But say if you do a Kaswa wa Benkran, you'll find Sawum, you'll find Bra. If a Tabakwanda, Zoko at that side, if you in day, you can expect call these communities, Akaswa, Sawum, and Azia. In day, Ghana has a population of about 35 million. No, in Krakakran, a dumb small community in Kaswa, Obakawa, Accra and its environs, Minkan them. What the population almost getting to, if not half, 1/3. In other words, Nimpa one can looking at the land size. Land size no so 16 regions in Kranoso room, but cannot contain all the population. Abna Bazinta. If you were approach to Konepe or Bankan, if you Bolga approach to Konepe or Bankan, if you Takrade, if you Libu or to Konepe or Bankan, because the opportunities in Bibia no Hano. Abna, so what ba in Kana? You person so or started or pejuma ya na de me adum so oba no yejuma no ya. The next number one is to build a house. Because although you be not see then also too. It is the reason why and not nam kwan ho to offend and say it done all over the place. Because we are all thinking of building. Be happy to see then baby. Also, you want to still find the land around inside when you choked so that you can get your land. Because we have given reasons for people to come to Accra. NPP started one district, one factory. Fantastic idea. One district, one factory. Abna, do you know what it means? What side there? Nipa Ankodofi commander, Albert Nankrano. Commander Cigar Factory is working. Into say 200 umpa, they will stay in Commander and work there. One man can. The same thing that cash you know what you know. And now Brekum no say if there's a factory there, you can all feed Brekum. On bankan. But you no factory no friend Brekum no. The same thing will happen to Bolga. And see, Anka down policy no, if it was well implemented, Anka lots of people will be even demotivated to come to Accra because Accra number no cope ejuma. Number one, or it's about livelihood, it's about employment. It is you discourage people from migrating to Accra. And then pressure no use to Accra. And can you pay one bogu? Even the bogu house have no matter what open no them. And so when two are rent or those in fact or renting part still not those them because it's a never no Accra. Meanwhile, the land space in Accra no also. And so all that will happen today. Me baby and so motor no my then. My feel no see the man because we don't have we have failed to plan our cities. Into the issue of the congestion is a big issue. People must move away from Accra, but we are not giving reason for them to move away.
All kinds of people are. Yen share, you know, abayaba, abayko. And why ne na no bibo he ekasai or a former deputy general secretary for NPP. Or can send this abra no musi a Jubilee House. Where one of the people are opposing ye say. A bayanka yen found quite chiri, yen free, a yakra. Said ye baya said ye the cohonomna, a yet denasa area no sono, ye be develop it. Esan say, Oman penini, Natsana be an asset in the office, no near identity. Other sense also put a your roots near the bit near Yidia Coho. And abra a president Mahama. A call shapes or them we must share your year walk Cassania de Oboso and Wakasa we say in India or when say, you know, the next 20 years near there. Yan take a step on her and ye juma. Imagine say, and they say be a me per ministry be nas Makwaku Sibia, for instance, and will be a dodoa. Meko because I mean say Hona Mequa. And you will say you you bet me a baby or nothing gradually na so. But and they know Abani ye bibia enkai. Ye see any major way say bia. E won sa say no ye capital. But as a so mu take you know the bold step and as a bold initiative no. So that ye now so ye dey. Ye be di akire bi. Ye ka koi eyemra ene dey ye adwuma. Ye see ensi dan wo ha say. Usi ya ne adwiri. Assembly no on regular basis no omoko akwa check it. Ya report wo ha say last year ye demolish ye dan a enei ne enim krampo kan say dan na fefe ye no so nim say dan fefe nipa na si dan no ehifo na esen komo emra no ho but ehifo na be make sure say be enforce sa emra no enti se ne wo ka say obi enya adwuma wo ha say Enti wo be prayer pedan e wo ha. Ba se me wo adwuma wo sunyane. Adwuma no eye papa me ya me nye sika e di free money ade. Me pray se me si dan e wo sunyan e ho no mo. Bibi ne se obi free sunyane no ba enkran. But make us say be ministries ni bi so wo sunyane. Member ana me boa.
No.
Interest aban ni nyina to say ejina.
Aban say make say we are not planning our cities in one. Ni na ejina planning do abna. You know share sister in there Greater Accra industrial area Tema, all the factories are there. Eba circular area, second the whole Kano, you have a lot of factories also there. That same enclave, we move kakra ko na ministries. Ministries nature, what do you think? That must be last kind of had there's Tudu, there's Makola, all the major markets of Ghana Hano, Mr. Here, as a over room or forester, circle Bukuma, they expect there being in Hono. Say you know how being in Makola. It will move from that place and no other. Meanwhile, the same Macron, when I say, honorable, now all the government win and sorry, that's where they go. It's one direction. It's a share. Very well. All on a part traffic on one-sided. From Kaswa to Accra, from Dodowa to Accra, from Medina to Accra, from Tema to Accra. That's a small area. It's a special plan in common. But imagine the ministries, for example, somewhere in the middle belt. Even the issue of people that will move today. I mean, at this time in age, decentralization and then there are people are still traveling far and wide to come to Accra. No, so that we have documents. We have the way you assign documents. Someone, why them? Abna. Until we are not planning our cities, and the result in that is one aspect. Now, the bigger issue, Abna, still lies on our land management. And land management in Abna, here, I'm showing you to expose us and land management. All the cities here, all the young fight it done assassin ayeka. Besides the why there people are still now war force day will be assassin. I mean assassin on young power pay the water on the man what's done what do. Wetlands. Why the people wetland and all that. So demand and supply, the pull and push factors, no. In fact, are problematic. But that is where our institutions, all the way the way we institutions were failing, Abna institutions were failing. Osande, share wetland. Assassin upon Oba assassin to a day in Sutra, another is in Subiaba. Insuno doesn't have to move because assassin will know. Now say wetland offended water area now because I feel is then what do. Yes, then we nature no. Abena yasa so ya to in pavement. Yes, then we nature no. You have pavement. It's pavement all over the place. It's one compound now. There's no soaking. You shouldn't do soak offended assassin to soak in suno. It's a mobile there or slip and slow to the nearby gutter. Gutter so you be. You be mpa usa or sumpa abna nwura ayemuma nti so through payment no so google outside the way we be don kwen nku bibia atasa it will just spill over nti you fail as a country. We have failed terribly. And for me abna mezema sembe we no President Mahama ne posture no on manu munyezan nda me hwe ne ofi helicopter ne mun naka say no abna vim am expect there was be shame to address the issues no vim no form.
No,
honorable them committee. No, we have to be radical about this. We have to be ruthless about this.
Okay.
Or they are ruthless about this. Where Ghanaians say we are funny people. Since I the new one, you shouldn't say and the last day said this class flood. They will relax. This is the time we want. For me, problem now, but now here now you do to there. Oh, this problem is I've done because I have from. It take that radical action.
Demolish.
Because sometimes you hear some radical action to address the issue once and for all.
Another player started to can say there are places I say we need military officers there. Pow. It is an area we say as a gutter the way you chug and near Mugumi at the moon now will be affected. A more responsibility.
Parliament to answer, I'm sure because your contempt, you're the I'm sure they folk could, but seriously, or they radical crowd this situation because the human face issues no all your doors on too much.
And another thing, so what dog the meeting no cassette is so manful. Also honorable they know you're a politician. Another thing so I must realize here say when they are in opposition I was said you almost see a kasa with issues about flooding. Just say the way we say come oh it says but the moment any pan baba ben that kasa no so asesa
Abraham the here politicians name was vote. That is their problem. Into the human face, one facing now a vote.
They have your vote.
Into they are always exchanging the bad attitude with votes. That's the problem with our politicians. Okay. But this is why I mean, it can be feel the President Mahama or a nice opportunity because on you be a vote as I wish that President Mahama didn't. I mean, he has a very nice opportunity. No re-election. So you go all out and leave that legacy once and for all.
Okay. So obi su fini party mo beba obi ni legacy so you radical
no abna maybe you need sometimes you need such actions to leave a good leadership here. Leadership on anybody it's about making the needed impact say yes assessing the people who complain there's no policy being 100% support that okay but eventually no the same people will come and talk good about it.
Okay,
that is leadership abna
Mate. Honorable.
Well, many doc, adwon money P, but it was on any adwon. If doc has above the NDC and the MPP have failed in the management of the flood, sir. And the reason why I'm adwon on a matter of principle. We said the Accra flooding situation, it dates back to the early 1930s and about. But in understanding the situation, Abai needed to lead. Debia is so there had to be a solution. That solution under the Kufuor government. They try to bring all these stakeholders together in the field of engineering, in mapping, in surveying, in flood management and all. Then the cabinet subcommittee has to develop that roadmap and making sure say okay. There are some few recommendations that we needed to have. One, across is become the engineer's nightmare. What the engineers envisaged many years ago, abroad. Into where you expected maybe a community of 1,000 people, you have 10,000 people living there. Where planners and be a gutters and you pay 500 next year and say so, there's anybody 2,000. So because of that, city a grow to the left and right, entering into eastern region, entering into central region. Sometimes if you not cross even with the Raka so Accra, you still think you're in Greater Accra. And sana and won't come much towards the other side, but also towards the Adenta, towards the Oyarifa, Edu Remu into the Ebu and the eastern region. Now for the Wenifia Central. In doing all this, government in India make us a many dog Kenya against that. The Kufuor government then started some project. One of it, yes, Nima Paloma Odona drains was initiated under the Kufuor government sometime in June 2024. Now, offer that of the Odona dredging consistently to make because it's no pump better. It will be a short, medium, long term. But offer the South Tanashi project and America said no work also began. The Buzia Highway drain system. Because maybe at the catchment areas, the population, you needed to find a solution to hold the water. Aside that, for the first time in Ghana's history, the NPP and the Kufuor administration initiated where the procurement and installation of the flood early warning system. This was also in 2024, June. About the technical niemano another do. However, Anami matches on his stomach. If Abna, what about the host of UTV and Opa show? Now we'll buy a production team amount of Obimpe and then a squad there Iguachi. na madam obana ene omo the paper ba so madam niema ene we think say be a bit no one far going to discuss also the fact we me ready we na be ba so tenase na ye more points so them here ready now if no better show ne so and you are not getting the backing from your team, you can't blame them. You had people who had already commenced activities, any initiatives. You had contractors on the field. What this government has been busy doing is trying to find fault of every initiative that they inherited. People had to protest. They had to block the roads at a point to draw government's attention. Say, too much. They stored the road. No, the construction got stored for like a year. Take that of the Kaswa road. And government is in continuum. Whereas it's clear, it's important, there has to be accountability, but don't let the people suffer at that expense. He's right. I warned the president yesterday, this is not the time for PR. You need tougher actions. Luckily for you, somebody has done the brain and the technical work. The projects and the initiatives started. All you have to do is to make sure, say, these things are a bit, it has the potency of making sure that you are mitigating it. You cannot stop rains. You can only mitigate its effect. And that is what the government, in my honest opinion, and without due respect, respectfully, that is why I think that the president has failed in it. And look, let nobody also kid you. Sammi boy is not in Accra. Wasam and Fini Accra. One year, Sag, not for any so called Galamsey areas. Doc, you can't cross any. Just a few weeks ago, you saw a whole city submerged. That cannot be a crowd desulting matter. So there's something also happening. Government's toughness on Galamsey has also been called into question. Make no mistake, you've had even churches declaring red means stop. Talking about the Presby Church a couple of weeks ago, dedicating themselves as a church to help also address this issue. You've had the head of the Pentecost Church, correct, about an appointee. You've had the Presby Church now wading into it. You've had the Catholic Bishops' Conference. So the government itself, its ability to protect lives and property, protect our natural ecosystem. Now, President Mahama catch in opposition, and even to the extent I say a Kufuado a memo born into Nansiono Cranto. That's a point. And then what's our preparedness? We've been caught pants down. Look, I can see the government doesn't be choosing me words well, motivating a lot of bloggers and the media. I say motivating
to do what? To
try and issue dance around it. Now your man then night so where they are crowd now yeah share the jokes we have a film here encouraging media houses maybe time they need to speak about it near time they need to speak about it near share that. Look, people are struggling. No amount of PR gimmicks and confusing the electorate and the system said the situation we find ourselves in and I am fortified in my belief. So if the government had carried on, look, you've come to meet almost 200 million cedis worth of money as far as the Garrett Even project is concerned. You are not spending, you are not paying the contractors, the projects are stalled. So how would you get results? Your own minister, who is part of the anti-flood task force, minister for local government, this sanitation, how can that be the fault of the citizens? If the government decides to abrogate all contracts in the sanitation sector, good. Replacement you don't replace. Is it the fault of the citizens to commence procurement process? Is it the fault of the citizens to come and sweep the street? That's not my fault. That one I won't share in the blame. However, the fault of the citizen is when we say gata wo no wakoto solid waste agum. A waterway no wakosi dan so. That one citizen is at fault. But anointing and when the citizen is at fault, there are measures in our constitution, in our laws, in our acts, in our bylaws for the government to remedy the situation. This is not, if you want to, President Mahama, this is not time for PR. If you want to make everybody happy, then you have to sell ice cream. Ice cream is the only thing that when you sell, nobody is crying when eating ice cream. We need the toughness of a leader. And that is why we believe, say, look, elections have consequences. About one year, the consequences need to be so that's the government's failure Because if you have an opportunity to lead, leadership is not a team sport. When you are in charge, be seen to be in charge and leading the people towards greater prosperity, protecting them. You swore an oath to protect and defend the Constitution of Ghana and all of us. So I will not say, you na gumi in a gamut, and I say in a cocktail, and a yin na yard for. The NPP will not be part of saying yin na yard for. Me say what the citizens are for. They are measures that the government at your disposal. In our assemblies, where unauthorized structures are there, you have assemblies. And again, that reminds me, isn't it strange, say Dr. Bedune Abna? Say ye see that one now can say a dying and you see somebody doing foundation, or be clear line, so or be your foundation, we see blocks or your first floor. What time we was it 2-bedroom, no, 3-bedroom, maybe an abon sign, was you. When they say so what's the essence of having the municipal assemblies? They have assemblymen, and the assemblymen are in every electoral area. So meaning that the assembly is represented in every electoral area, and all these assemblymen belong to committees at the assembly. Is that not it? Into no be not the bar, not the MCE. It's your job. It's not the job of Abna Chebwache, Dr. Eduafo Abedu, and Sammi Awuku to go and recruit and employ people to go and sweep the street. It's not our job. People are being paid to do that. That's why they are ministers of state. And that's why we have a government led by President Mahama. And that's why you have MMDCs. So if the government is unable to recruit after abrogating a contract for a year, then the minister comes to stand on TV, say, beyond what you said, what has been done to fix the situation. And then Nyama Mera hope is that people have lost their livelihoods. Nkofo ediemia, nkofo etwejajo. Na wo hwe o TV so a enka wa ebe also be hwe to say TikTok video out there. But if I had a wo failure, yan kan the wachi a o se agro no ede. Obi wo hono ma ni dwetwe na ye 2000 Ghana cedis. O de akofa o force one bail. Se na be ya o ton o de bi be hwe na ire ene ne ma. It's gone. Wakwa akofa sandals. Wakofa esichira a oton. So in all this, you cannot tell me say it cannot be. Government is elected to lead the people in times of difficulties. When the Kufuor was there, they say the people had every right to speak at that time, and that is why the President Mahama would. You cannot tell me say 140 millimeters and say madam that one you say madam only cycle could draw a donor or not catch them say 140 millimeters a year toy and a walk on measure who could take measure the commeasure and who the year a toy. Go to Ghana Meteorological no problem. Tuna Kwako Chichi, Obia and Niema, watching in Niema. Well, losing a livelihood. In Sia Fan a banner corner, who could not catch and say, what the measure AC form, the measure in Sunni Fias as skill and then. Now we are what's about soon, you might better you. Maybe or the Mampenini say, it's unable to dry. It is a for sign to Gumusa, and I don't come on. Do we have control over when the next rain will come? No, we don't. Okay, so you don't have control over it. What you have control over are the mitigation measures. And not the old day to make sure say a protecting woman for like when the Kufuor was president during COVID, which was a world emergency, a public health, global public health emergency. He made a profound statement. Or say we know how to bring our economy back, but we do not know how to bring lives back until he will break even the vote at the bank to protect his people. That was a leader speaking at that time. Why do Bamini Suba? I've lost my things. Now Sushi Amia, Yesha or Square. You honorable home. So no, in the square Benny in Ibisiano. Luta Square. That's what the people are complaining.
But as the crowd there, honorable Sota saying there, a Dana Yerika there will see. I mean, we'll see the municipal assemblies, what Shem was done. These buildings, we also will see during the MPP's time. And those times, they had MCs, they had district directors. What Shem will see them done. So it's go back to the issue of all of us. Okay.
No, I'm not disagreeing. I said to me before, no, we also have a role to play. I said when I was talking about the MMDCs, and I said the assembly members in every electoral area. That one they regardless of regime.
Thank you.
But it is not to go and enforce or say at the end started right from foundation level. When you have town and country planning, you know the development of each area. You know where your waterway. You know where you have to make sure so we're demarcating for recreation. Any other. Now what you have now? Now we are just an interesting people. Yeah, the Pokwasi interchange. The next also be the Choba Koshasi and Obabe. But you don't remember that?
Yeah.
So if the authorities at that time had allowed say Choba under an overhead, you can never pack away.
They drew one
so in the where where even Timemu have heard the laws, that's why government you have at your disposal the laws, the act, the bylaws to act. Leadership is not a team sport. When you're leading, be seen to be in charge. You take the decisions to buy the bullet. A good word gambled. And now COVID by nations had choices. What should be to say US? They prioritize economy over their lives. They lost millions. What should Spain? What should Italy? It was choices. Now others say, look, will be an say the boy man for one because why? You did not have enough health infrastructure if I did not spread it. So what you have to do is to make sure so called preventive. You are aggressive on the protocols to make sure say yeah first soldier when street is so. Satan one table for soldier ni kwe no ukraba no before beba wadwemu I say oka and making sure so what it no you were doing it. People conformed. Into why is it that now no we are pretending say no we the enye say yabo pepe passem nkofo so nkofo church that we have a role to play. I've admitted though but where we are the laws are there to make sure they checkmate us.
And the outside kind of 2024 must yes. Say you know the initiative.
Say flood and a flood warning system.
Why 2024?
Say after a comprehensive strategy.
During 7 years,
so that within the 7 years, make no mistake, we're doing annual desilting. Also constructing storm drains. And also making sure, say when you have the comprehensive strategy, and one recommendation here say, let's have 18 ponds, detention centers, where in Sonoto there are those within Achimota, Abofu area, Mile 7, Taifa, there's a holding area. Detention center. But for more water basins, no. It's when you have that now, in Sonoto, but you are confining to an area where you are not
you know the pressure.
Fantastic. But then the other one that they did was also to make sure say initiative now areas, maybe Buzia highway to make sure some drain system you begin. You check that of maybe I name these headquarters call Adabrake Force. Nima Paloma Odona was also a project. Wafa, the Kaneshi area, Wafa Circle area. So once you have all, and again, I missed out on something, Doc. The Ministry for Local Government also made it a point. Say all the assemblies now the detention centers located in area. You forbid for even allowing any structure near it. And it was compliant. Into why is it that the enforcement and the leadership is missing now? Look, now the reason why me as an MP I'm speaking that way is that when people are affected, when you know, look, it's why yes, who are if you know how and Yemen in so family, but I found the Yemen indirectly because in Kofosu, you see a Libra, a coach.
I think say hold on I'm the issue now some we say I mean the harm has already been caused. But another dimension, whilst you are looking at addressing the underlying issue, I think we can't also feed the management of the disaster, the after event, how I would rescue and support and restore people's lives. I think the issue June 3rd issue is as of today, there's one citizen on the government court there when compensation has not been well served. I mean June 3rd victims, you know. Yeah.
That's what dear. Every way say beer. I mean,
and I think that at the point, yeah, I know they're more mobilizing. You are even mobilizing for them now. I think also that's also another thing that all exposing in past a country how prioritize human welfare. The same into me best strain there. Me and my way so on one of those things I will see when the issue come out. Na ya be ho ya be kasa ho bebre but open the need, I mean the time or there you call to the aid of the support of the when are affected na you know so is a politics sisiara you can say abna nkrofo hiamwa nkrofo ho kasa asese nkrofo ho da na asese nkrofo ho ni fiezama I can tell the obi assist make say empower the crampo no on them on you nti best painful be brave there
and not more me say ye ni Jacob could be e kasa ye e wo Gomoa, I think it was in Gomoa East or something.
Okay.
Was it not more office? Bicycle type.
Let me tell you. Also when you feel, and it's very unfortunate. It's very unfortunate. I say Gomoa Mponi na ho very interior na ho na the way then the same one. Let's not joke with this.
We are located on yearly basis funds for emergency relief. About Nadmo. Yearly basis.
How much?
In the budget. Sometimes 100 million, sometimes one. Because
check a budget. Check a budget for this year, but
in total, in fact, sometimes. But in total, about our allocation to management of these disasters, and about 550 million within that period. Why? Because me say, quote the book of Ecclesiastes. Pardon me and permit me to be biblical. Or say no one can anticipate the time of disaster. Like a fish caught in a cruel net, or a bird caught in a wicked trap, so are humans caught at a time of calamity when it suddenly falls upon them. Mitchell. Or say, nipe bien obit minidi neniebu eda breachery bebono. Or say, etise empata wonsi yomo, nan konson yino. Ana noma onem yu akosi dueso, na efidie yino. Or say, sana breachery bonipa eman enindaso. So it is clear, say, disaster bit me at war winning. But if you don't prepare for emergency relief, and say not move for issue, almost your go-to person at the assembly.
I'm not the one responsible. But I'm pretty honorable there.
Yes,
if that is the case, if that fund was there annual, them June 3rd in Commonwealth, they are Ghanaians and the government here continues. What did you do to come to the aid of them victims during that year 8 years?
June 3rd, let's see, that
2015, yes.
So the funds was set up.
Yes, the funds were set up.
The funds, no, I don't want to pretend I have the knowledge of that, but I do know. So whatever funds was collected had to be accounted for, because some OGGs can saw the Koboa victims, so there has to be a probing to it. I am not too sure if the government completely did not do anything about it, because it was an inherited problem, because it didn't happen during our time, and it happened 18 months before general elections. June 2015 to December 2016. That was 18 months. So the funds that was, did they disburse all? Because they are saying that their names were written. Some of them funds were taken in their names. And in the names of the victims that they didn't get.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Yes.
That is the problem. Me and my way so on one of those things. And the assembly say, you know, who are affected one truly genuinely no. You fish them out and you're born. Me and find another kind of them politics na no. Even sometimes them support and sometimes they even politicize it. The MPP and also in KB, NDC and also in KB, those kind of things. I think that we have to look at they are Ghanaians now to ensure no I don't know what one. You ensure how we can also support them to bring back to life. Them obey also be a certain dignifying, you know, where you be now also was that Snackum. And so I think that is the little plead. It's just them painful, not more president and them painful in our day. Whilst I address the causal problems, you know, afterwards, I mean, we see how we can also help support those affected. Now, you reintegrate on smoothly into a normal life. No one's want to because yes, they are Ghanaians. They pay taxes. They have the right to earn a certain, I mean, welfare support systems and all that. I mean, things will normalize, but but abna bad nekasi now goes back to the fact today we had that chair and Ghana for he na engine there we can't into your business as usual again say he had been there sooner things has come to normal and soon obasana wato but simple this year Ojay but metro for work by June 1st or first week of June July sorry soon better no next year subasana talk and next year we may even get more than this. And to say I prepare, you're putting the right systems in place, and you're very radical about this problem. Now, no, Katabu, Mondo, there's a fair for one. When it's no Abia Otto. Next year, Basanaba, no ba, Abia, may you more than that. In Tikakra, you're saying there, one my ruthless about this problem. Now, you address no once and for all. Now, Ghana for as Ghanaians, you answer your kahun. Abna Ghanaians answer your kahun. What's the law? No. Painful one from one boy from Edgeman. He also Ghana for your Pembra, you would do too much. Your attitude is me yet. Your attitude as Ghanaians no on yet. Because the Ghanaian knows there, oh, as he may now, friend and Mbana Shabokrampa, Mutuma, from pay be another Mutuma, can't may pay be, may politician be, me MPB, me DC be, and now pay be a minimum, now if you ever came be a mom, if you wide, and what way to charge me to know. We write on that and then also do the wrong things. Into I told the baby na yankasa as a man for no I take him pain for no one say go to because the impani impa there as I know yet but just because him they pain no another nearly the no ni MP no ni pain no name no say ofrena I mean but my threat there say I'm if you don't come to my age I don't know do hosa another election time musu metro friend musu then Penino end up being, considerate. Then they also start using their powers to manipulate the laws. In the Ghana for Hasu, puts in the right perspective. Say him there to Assasibi and Assasibi I want abna on you papa another on your sasa sabi or the feeling as your man, yeah, don't do it. Say him there we are sanitation, we are not disposing wrongly. Okay, these they all form part of the problem. International checking attitude, checking actions.
Greater Accra Minister, one of the best regional minister.
Honorable Awuku, Obenewa,
the current regional minister.
Honorable, let's say you're
the best regional minister.
Honorable, I get a regional minister. Or you're gonna feel nice.
No, great award. I don't know near my. I just want to know if it's that woman. She's done well. She's done well to manage. Or Timia manages situation. The really best regional minister.
What situation?
But she told you she has managed the
but they have different criteria. And take their sanitation, they carry a lot of weight.
Symptomatic of the general malaise, general situation. So you see, in the kingdom of the blind, one eye is king. No comment.
That's why sorry so is
well, maybe I think some happy. First of all, the minority is also preparing to also speak about the matter. We think the government must go back to what was started. We say, don't waste your time on a technical matter. That brain work, consultation, and all that has been done. Initiatives are President Kufuor Fias here on Dr. Bawumia Fias here. The storm drains, the dredging of the Odo River, also the flood warning system, the holding detention centers for Insu. These are the practical solutions. In any NFA, government should immediately dissolve our anti-flood committee now. What's here? Look, we cannot have a deputy chief of staff who has no controlling and compelling powers to supervise two ministers. The two ministers don't even know who is in charge of the flood situation. And to dissolve that one, make sure you are clear in your mind which ministry is handling water, flooding, sanitation matters. That will be my last word.
Okay. No.
Abna, since I'm in my civil society, I'm here in Angel here as we are into these things. I think the Kakra Musumaka there. Whilst we are talking about all these infrastructure, the government investments, and support systems, as you know, as a crucial here, education. I think the Ghanaians ought to be educated very well. I mean, education, I am now a challenging Kakra. because we are always reacting. Issue this now it's them you're educating and asam. But I think the government has to be very intentional, consistent with sensitizing the people. Na Ghana for the civic rules or do play. I think that if the Ghanaian is able to the awareness or very deep in the minds of the people, the enforcement will be a bit relatively easy. In the INA Sense Africa now, we are available to support in terms of this education sensitization drive. The little that we can have that collaboration. Bus stop boys, a lot of institutions are there. Now you collaborate to see that the Ghanaians are also, the Ghanaian people are also well sensitized and educated. Then it's also very easy from the other side, because you see, when you are dealing with people who don't understand a given problem, honestly you're another dimension, sometimes it's very difficult. And that's a little I would say now. Whilst talking about education, so you see, one institution, I think they're also very problematic, which I know that they be working about funding, NCC. Okay, so whilst talking about education, I think institutions like the NCC, or that money work now, empowering well, then that kind of awareness, the understanding of the Ghanaian people. So
Doc, maybe if you may permit me just a minute. Apart from NCC Adoko Kan, they say it's about people's civic duties as well, what to do as a citizen. One critical institution is also Meteorological Services Department. I sit on a committee of parliament where I'm vice chairman. We deal with agencies of state, and Meteo is one of them. They are under-resourced. Agencies still be omo kakra before your committee. We sometimes have to pressurize them to pay meteorological services for the services rendered them. Wow. I'm telling you. Agencies simply to me do omoka for God knows how long. And now almost no measure, almost they can tell you when President Pesa create information. Normal themselves will tell you, say, even equipment need be a modern equipment that they also need to be competitive and get accurate information is a problem. The operational needs, and look, situation in now, there's something happening within the atmosphere and the climate. And then our uneven rainfall patterns, any other. That agency must also be supported. Then the second matter I'll come in is EPA, Environmental Protection Authority. And it's still the Ministry of Local Government and the Assembly. You see, in so not to tell you, and told me anyway. Niatoma, they say, one with the residue. One if you know about now you also have a health crisis at hand. You have cholera staring you in the face. You have malaria also giving you a package. So we have a whole health matter, and that is why I believe say the aftermath of every rains will be devastation. Into how are we also planning to look into these matters? And I think that it's time government looks at the support for the EPA as well, looks for support for the assemblies in helping clear the debris and the aftermath of the rains. And that of the metro services. Thank you.
Okay. And so for aha ene de nkomodie ni se kwabena bo ache se ono bo menkan cho so chia wona wo hu sa na pe why wild pant menkan cho so mo be raise fund na woman for mo ho ache wo mo no
kwabena we de kwabena wadaroma na me ka se wo se MPBia ka se ni break man so na e bi ono no nsuo ne mfa na MP ni nko but indirectly we are affected because me man for na yesoma no so court na parliament no because MP near to yin to
ayo I was a 40 Hannah Bebe